Where is everyone today? Maharaj is here.
No. Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Maharaj is not.
Oh, nice background. Govardhan Hill, huh, Maharaj?
Not my monkeys, not my circus. Dr. Singh's hospital. Not my monkeys, not my circus.
I don't know where are the people.
Well, it's 8 o'clock. Let's go ahead and get started.
Okay, can we share our screen too?
Yes, Maharaj. Just. Yes. Now you can. Okay, Maharaj, whenever you're ready.
Okay, will you be my chief goose?
Yes, Maharaj.
Yadi te hari padasa roja sudarasa anaparam nirdoi yam sapratam Hare Nityagriham Kavi Baba Mayam Bajadoduma Kanana Kunjabidum Bajadoduma Kanana Kunjabidum Bajadoduma Kanana Kunjabidum Bajadoduma Kanana Kunjabidum Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.
Bhajagodrum Makanana Kunjavidum Bhajagodrum Makanana Kunjavidum Bhajagodrum Makanana Kunjavidum Bhajagodrum Makanana Kunjavidum Hi, Sri Prabhupada ki jai.
Okay.
She go back to the Narayanam Namaskritam
Narayanam Namaskritam
Naram Shaiva Narottamam
Naram Cheva Narottamam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Devim Saraswatim Vyasam
Tato Jayam Udirayat
Tato Jayir Udayayat.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Srimad Bhagavatam 1:5-17. Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhajam harer.
Tvaktva swadharmam charanam bhujam harer.
Bhajan pakvota patet tato yadi.
Bhajanna pakpo tapet tato yadi.
Yatra kvava bhadram abhudamushakim.
Yatra kava badram abud amushakim.
Kovartapto bhajatam swadharmata.
Uvarta apato bhajatam swadharmata.
You chant, we respond.
Tvaktva swadharmam charam bhujam harer.
Yatra swadam bhajanam vadam buher.
Bhajanam apakpo tat patet tato yadi.
Bhajan apakvota patet tato yadi.
Yatra kava badram abud amusakim.
Yatra kvabadam abodam mushakyam.
Kovarta apato bhajatam swadharmata.
Kovartapto bhajatam swadharmata. Some other devotees can chant.
त्यक्त्वा स्वधर्मं चरणात् भुजं हरेः
Tyaktva swadharmam charanam bhojam harer.
भजना अपकवो तपते ततो यदि
Bhajana pakvota patet tato yadi.
यात्रा क्व वा भवर्धम् अभूत् अमुष्य किम्
Yatra kvava bhadram abhudamushakyam.
को वृथा अप्तो भजतं स्वाधर्मतः
Kovartapto bhajatam swadharmata.
त्वा स्वधर्म चरुणाम्बुजं हरे
Tvaktva swadharmam charanam budam harer.
भजनपको अथ पते ततो यदि
Bhajana pakvota patat tato yadi.
यत्र क्व वा भद्रं भूदमुष्यं किम्
Yatva kvabadram abhudamushakim.
को वार्थ आप्तो भजतां स्वधर्मतः
Kovartapto bhajatam swadharmata.
हरे कृष्ण.
Translation. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage. Yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. So Sanskrit's very nice, very simple. Chakvam, to give up, swadharmam, his own dharma, charana, feet, ambuja, lotus, harer, lotus feet of Hari, Krishna. Bhajan apakva, paka, apaka, not mature bhajan. Tatet, tatet, ta, patet, tato yadi, falls down. Yatra kwa vabhadram abudam mushakim. Here Prabhupada in the word by word meaning says Krishna's, or actually this case, Narada Muni is being a little sarcastic. Yatra kva abhadram. What kind of abhadram would there be for him? Kova artha. Artha, to gain something, no. Abhajatam, the non-bhajan, the non-devotee, swadharmataha. But what does he get? The non-devotee by following his duty. So it's a little bit of a sophisticated idea, unless you're actually a devotee. then it becomes, pretty clear for all of us, who are taking to this process. I guess if you're Sukadeva Goswami, or the four Kumaras, this doesn't apply to you. Yeah, in their devotional history. But for many of us, it actually applies. And we find an echo, of course, even in our most fundamental teachings from the very second, right in the second chapter, of the Bhagavad Gita, Nihabi Kramo Nashosti Prachovayana Vidyate. So devotional service, it's a science. It's everywhere. It doesn't matter whether you're taking the shelter of the Prophet Muhammad, or Jesus Christ. Same principles apply. Same things happening. We kind of looking for this verse because we were thinking something we wanted to talk about tonight. It's this nice sangha. And we thought, okay, I guess you're studying. We can talk a little more. If you got it, saw the what's the word? Tava Pache Pache. Thing that we did. It's our afterwards to the nectar of instruction. Of course, Dhanaraj Maharaj has his afterwards to the nectar of devotion. So we're very much based upon his book. So in there, one thing we were able to do was to go through the entire nectar of instruction and take out, link all of the citations, probably many of them, most of them, not all of them. And there's so many, Prabhupada's books are based upon the previous acharyas, and many are being paraphrased. This is one that's being paraphrased. And I think in the Nectar of Instruction, it's in the section, text number 3, Utsahan Nishchayad Dharyat Tat Karma Pravartanat Sangatyaga Sato Vitahe Shabir Bhaktir Prasidati. Utsahan Nishchayad Dharyat. I think it's in the section where Prabhupada's talking about Bhaktisiddhanta's explanation of Nishchayana, that we should be determined. And Bhaktisiddhanta is saying that we should not take up the path of the karmis or the jnanis or everything else. That we should be determined to follow a devotional service with a conviction that will achieve the result. Then Prabhupada paraphrases this right here. One who has forsaken his material occupations, the life of the karmi, to engage in the devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage. Yet there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, the non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. Now, the 1.5.17, if you're studying Bhakti Vaibhava, our course, the first canto, chapters 1 to 3 are the sutta to the sages. The sages who are behind everything ask sutta about what is the best dharma, what is the best book, what is the significance of the different incarnations, and then he tells them. And then then they say, okay, you're saying the best book is Srimad Bhagavatam, but Vyasadeva had already written all the Vedas, the Mahabharata, Ramayana, Puranas, no, not Puranas, maybe some of the Puranas. So why did he then go ahead and write another big book? And how did he get the impetus to do this? And it describes in chapters 4, 5, 6, how Narada Muni came to Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva was in a problem. He had deviated from fallen down from pure devotional service, and he was starting to describe devotional service to the Lord in a very, very indirect way. Well, okay, you should do this and that. You should become a vegetarian. You should engage in supporting animal rights. You should, and people do this. Devotees do this. And what's the result is they just don't feel fully satisfied. So Vyasadeva came along, Narada Muni came along, and then told him, very excellent, just to read his instructions. Very excellent, because many of us are on that level now. We're more advanced, and this just touches our heart, helps us make another big step forward towards waking up. And so this is one of the verses he told them. He said, okay, if you describe devotional service and you're thinking, well, people may not be able to take to it or something. No. One who has forsaken his material occupations to engage in devotional service of the Lord may sometimes fall down while in an immature stage, bhajana paksma, if there is no danger of his being unsuccessful. On the other hand, a non-devotee, though fully engaged in occupational duties, does not gain anything. Okay, then Prabhupada's purport. I have to indicate it here. As far as the duties of mankind are concerned, can you see the page, Abhishek ji?
Yes, Maharaj, we can see it.
Okay, we're 5,000 miles away or something. As far as the duties of mankind are concerned, there are innumerable duties. Every man is duty bound, not only to his parents, family members, society. We can all think of our own situation, our own parents, our own family members, our own society, country, humanity, other living beings, the demigods, etc., but also to the great philosophers, poets, scientists, etc. It is enjoined in the scriptures that one can relinquish all such duties and surrender unto the service of the Lord. So Abhishek, is there a verse in the Bhagavad Gita that confirms that? You know it.
The first chapter, or I guess the second paragraph, first sentence
Of the Bhagavad Gita?
Also, I don't know the text, but Sarvadharman Parityagya. Is that
What's
it?
the whole thing? Whole verse.
Sarvadharman Parityagya mamekam sharanam braja ham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishami masucha.
That's the final conclusion of Krishna. So many duties. Arjuna's confused. He said, well, look, Krishna says, just follow me. I think it was 1869, what it is. Yeah. So if one does so and becomes successful in the discharge of his devotional service unto the Lord, it is well and good. But it so happens sometimes that when he surrenders himself unto the service of the Lord by some temporary sentiment, in the long run, he falls down from the path of service by undesirable association. And it doesn't mean that, it just has to be people who are breaking the four principles or anything else like that. And again, it can be, someone like Vyasadeva is presenting, who has so many good qualities in many ways, and is sacrificing, some of the results of their duties in a generous fashion. When Raghunath Das Goswami finally escaped from his family and made it to Jagannath Puri, and Lord Chaitanya told him, and he said, Krishna is so kind that you escaped from all this. He said, your uncle Hiranya and Govardhan, I think his uncle was Hiranya. They were the tax collectors for West Bengal. It's going to be the tax collector for Tennessee or something. They got some good percentage. of everything they collected as their salary. And they were, fantastically rich, so wealthy and prosperous, and could learn to had competent in so many languages and so many things like that. Mandalapati, they were the leaders of society. And so, and they were giving so many donations to Vaishnavas for different projects, for preaching and so many things like that. And Lord Chaitanya, he said, your father and your uncle are almost devotees. Almost devotees. And he said, and I can joke about them because they're just like my father and uncle. So you understand when I say things that I'm joking about him in a friendly fashion. He said, your father and uncle are almost devotees, but actually they're like the worms in the ditch where people urinate and pass big stool, enjoying themselves, and delighting themselves. That's what it all is, Even if we're dressing ourselves very nicely to go to the temple, looking nice for Janmashtami festival, and arriving in our comfortable vehicle, and enjoying the very, very beautiful expert kirtan singers and bhajan singers, and enjoying how beautiful the deities are dressed artistically. Still, there's so much of a spirit of enjoyment, so much of a spirit of feeling satisfaction, of displaying our wealth in front of other people and feeling ourselves part of aristocratic society. So there's so many subtle contaminations that we also can get. In the beginning, maybe we are very austere brahmacharis and brahmacharinis, and our whole attitude is like that. But then we discover ourselves, become very, Prabhupada says a sannyasi can become attached to the few things that are the possessions of a sannyasi, or to a certain temple, And there's such subtle comfort in all these ashrams. And it can go on for years, and we can become captured by these things. So if one does so and becomes successful in the discharge of his devotional service unto the Lord, it is well and good. But it so happens that sometimes that one surrenders himself unto the service of the Lord by some temporary sentiment. In the long run, due to so many other reasons, he falls down from the path of service by undesirable association. There are so many instances of this in the histories. Now, Prabhupada gives so many nice histories here. Bharata Maharaj was obliged to take his birth as a stag due to his intimate attachment to a stag. Actually, it was a baby deer, right? He thought of this as stag when he died. As such, and it was his Baba. He was absorbed in taking care of his little pet. I'm your dearmost friend, not Krishna. Look to me. I'm your daddy. I'm your mommy. I'm your big brother. I'm your king. I will take care of you. And so it was subtle contamination. But he let it pervade himself. He thought of this stag when he died. As such, in the next birth, he became a stag, although he did not forget the incident of his previous birth. So there we see a nice example. And Prabhupada is saying this, we should be, Bhaktisiddhanta saying, we should be attentive to our social duties. These are actually created by Krishna. And if we don't do them as an ambience, to our confidential devotional service in the Sankirtan movement, then they won't be good. It won't create a nice atmosphere. So if we take them in that spirit, feelings towards parents, family, society, country, humanity, all living beings, then that's proper. But when it becomes predominant and it becomes our bhava, we're absorbed in it too much, then we become connected. Here's one example of what may happen to me in my next lifetime. I may become Lord Brahma. Similarly, Chitraketu also fell down due to his offenses at the feet of the Lord Shiva. Okay, so he was very elevated. He got free by the instructions of Narada and Angira of the situation of his child being killed and dying. But then Prabhupada is describing it here as a subtle contamination. That he was a a little proud when he was joking and criticizing Lord Shiva. And so the next birth he took as a big demon, first member of the parliament. But what happened? He was big demon, he acted like a demon, you know, but at heart he was still a devotee and he wanted to be killed by Indra. But in spite of this, the stress is given here to surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord, even if there is a chance of falling down. Because even though one falls down from the prescribed duties of devotional service, you will never forget the lotus feet of the Lord. And my experience is that I've seen some people who intentionally worked on it for years, were able to forget Krishna. But other than that, so many times they see Western devotees falling down into their, attachments, which may not be the subtle attachments we're talking about, and smoking a pack a week and all these things a little bit. But still, in every case, there was still this desire, Once engaged in devotional service of the Lord, one will continue the service in all circumstances. The Bhagavad Gita has said that even a small quantity of devotional service can save one from the most dangerous position. Abhishek, this verse, it's also in the second chapter.
Oh, Maharaj, I'm sorry.
Anybody know this verse? Don't be shy.
Neha vikramnastoste prativaya navadite swarpamat dharma sitrayate mahatubhya. 240.
Okay. What is the verse number? Do you know?
240.
Okay. Bhakti Vedanta. Yeah. And Krishna's this exactly. He starts to describe devotional service. It's called Bhakti, Buddhi Yoga. He's glorifying it. Exactly the same thing. So everything we're saying right here is right in the beginning of Bhagavad Gita. But now we're hearing in such a nice advanced way, and it touches us deeper. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is said even a small quantity of devotional service can save one from the most dangerous position. So there are many instances of such history, examples in history. Prabhupada's already given two. Ajamil is one of them. Ajamil in his early life was a devotee, but in his youth he fell down. Still he was saved by the Lord. So such a very, very nice verse. And as we're going through these things in association here, for us, it's so stimulating to see our own position. And I hope also the other members of the community then, some kind of also stimulation and realizing we're at different levels. And we have probably everybody here, he wouldn't be here if we hadn't taken to devotional service with some real sincerity, Otherwise, just kind of fade away. And but here, and so then we see different kinds of things. Maybe other people can talk about their own experiences in terms of this. Like that. So any comments here or questions?
Maharaj, these points were also discussed in Nectar of Instruction, text 6, and your Tao Pache commentary. You have also pointed out these things, especially Bharat Maharaj incidents.
What's that? I couldn't quite follow.
That this was also discussed in text 6 of Nectar of Instruction, and your Tao Pache, you mentioned the example of Bharat Maharaj, how he got up to Bhava, and the point was that,
Yeah, because it's for 4, 6 is Drishtai Swabhava Janater. He's talking about association with the Uttamadhikari. Yeah, and it's amazing because right there, Prabhupada says that as soon as one becomes envious of other devotees, he really falls from the Paramahamsa platform. Yeah, so now we're talking extremely subtle. Extremely subtle. Wow. Daksha, of course, is maybe an example, because he was maybe a karmi more than a devotee in some level. But he was a very, very advanced person, but he didn't have proper relations with devotees. And so he He fell down. Yeah. We've moved our red. We have a different roof over our head now. Let me turn on my. Last time we talked, we were still out in Santa Eulalia. He's a very interesting saint. Yeah, maybe I'll go and remove my screen and turn my camera back on again. Okay, there we go. Not my monkeys, not my service, not my. Yeah. Santa Eulalia, maybe you saw the movies there. It's about, maybe about an hour and 10 minutes from Lima. And then you go 20 minutes, and then it's an hour and 10 minutes to where the temple is, very nice temple, Chosica. And not very far, it was this all Christians arrangement. It was such a beautiful place, a very old place, maybe 100 years. And then one artist bought it. His daughter was a classmate of one of our disciples, 2 girls. So every corner of that place was so wonderful for making the movies and editing everything else. And the conclusion was we ended up with about 45 minutes of 45 hours of recordings like that. And good recordings. This is first class quality. Today we started talking with the devotees in Houston, and we're running like mad, to get everything ready to do proper filming in Houston when we're there. And we realize there's so much to consolidate in terms of our experience and ISKCON and ourselves, in terms of what's happened. We're coming to a plateau here, looking at the whole place. And so one of the devotees there is a cinematographer. 2 of them, we finally got in touch with them, and they're trying to help us now. Abai, he's maybe like 60 years old. And I was telling him how much we recorded before. And it's in 4K, which is one of the highest densities you can record. The devotees here, but our director, Raul and Pablo, they have very wonderful equipment. They're so happy working with us in this project. I'm becoming very appreciating more and more Prabhupada's movement, everything in a very deep sense. Raul, our director, he's finishing his doctorate at Birmingham University. It is one of the few places that has it on video communication and anthropology and society. So always very good questions, humor. So they're recording in 4K with all this equipment. So I was mentioning to Abai in Houston that we had 45 hours in 4K. It's about 11 terabytes. 11 terabytes. And he went, wow. But now the thing was only one copy of the whole thing. So everything could be lost at any moment. So we did, what is Shanta's verse? Oh, okay, there's no loss. But there's been so much austerity in the last 6 months, and so many people have been visiting us and staying and traveling. Jagat Guru, him, he was there with his family. They stayed in the bungalow section down below and austere, and living with the 2 little girls. And, it was such an austerity in many ways, but at the same time, too, so enriching. And he came up with very excellent things for Neos. He wants to very much participate and help. And I think Abhishek have arranged a meeting on the 20th. They're going to discuss some of the ideas about going on and turning Neos into something like YouTube. Yeah. It's we did some excellent recordings with him. Finally got some Hamlet and Arjuna. It came out so well. The final thing is it's definitely something you can put on the web and people listen to it. And but he understands what perspective you have to put it into. If we're going to do Hamlet and Arjuna on on our web page and different kinds of learning resources, the PowerPoint I have, and it's much improved, cleaned up. And when I was speaking it, I was really able to get into the humor of Shakespeare and everything else. And but it's designed for people with a master's degree. which means, okay, I have a master's degree in science or a master's degree in liberal arts. In both cases, you know Shakespeare well enough that you don't have to have a lot of explanation of details. But he's aimed for all audiences, but he especially likes his audiences of like 15-year-old, Western people, industrialized people. Because that's when boys and girls are really starting to take decisions in their life. What am I going to do? And what is life? So yeah, it's a wonderful thing. They're adults in terms of manipulating the internet and paying for courses and so on. So he has very, very nice vision, and it's something he's proven because that's the kind of work he does, professionally and so on. So it was just one thing. They stayed for 1 month, and they have so many things there. And his little daughter, Rasarani, she came in the beginning. The rooster was intimidating her. He was chasing her around, trying to peck her. And the second day, she's like, I think, 3.5 years old or something, But their family is farmers, and so on the weekends they go and stay with his father. So the second weekend, she picked up a stick and stood her ground and whacked it out with the rooster. And then finally she won. Okay, and then and it was very interesting too, because their parents, they didn't let her get hurt, but they didn't interfere. Let her take her responsibility. So we left about last week, and of course it was like ephemerally we were suffering so much separation from the place, so many memories there, just like somebody may be attached to their house and all their memories, things that happened there. But I've seen this. I mean, packing up was unbelievable, putting everything in boxes and shifting and moving and everything else. And it was simultaneously, it was so systematic. Abhiram had things that we put, okay, these boxes go here. He showed up with all of these boxes and wrapping materials, and five of us got them all divided. And when the truck showed up, the guy said, wow, he said, usually when I show up, people haven't even finished packing yet. And you've got everything labeled, So we drove down to Lima. We unloaded half the stuff at Abhiram's house, and we came out here to Palikas and Chaturapma's beautiful, nice house on the beach. And it's a very beautiful place, very nice, fresh air, everything else. And they got a small place in a row of other kind of mostly kind of like they're like beach houses type things. It's nice size area, but people own their houses here. And right now it's starting. Maybe probably you can't hear it because they have all the windows closed. But on Friday and Saturday night, he said everybody just parties. So that's the problem. There are no mosquitoes, no electricity failures. The ocean is two blocks away. But now all night long, he says until 2 o'clock in the morning, Yanisha Sarabhutanam, Chashyam, Jagarti, Samyami. They're going to be howling. So Panchatattva was with us. He came from Argentina, staying the whole time, and he's going to we're going to apply for sannyas for him next fall. So he's a surfer, everything else, way before. So when he went to the market and saw the beach and everything else near here, and he saw one old surfboard, he said, how much do you want for that? And the guy said, $25. And so he bought a surfboard for $25. He has Sika and everything else, But he's like a very athletic guy and everything else. So he went out there surfing, and then he said right away, so while he was out there, waiting for the wave, one guy said, oh, you're Hare Krishna, aren't you? He said, yeah. And then he said he was surfing with the guys, and he distributed 5 books because, I had restaurant, Prasadam Govinda's restaurant. And he said in Argentina, everybody's so much colder, heavy meat eaters. But he said here, everybody takes prasadam, they ask questions. And so there are we have different circumstances for preaching and everything else. And then the movie, they're trying to sort everything out and edit it. And they came here, Raul and Pablo. And the thing here where we are is called, what's it called? La Punta Negra, the Black Point. And it's this gigantic, maybe like 6-7 story tall rock is coming out of the sand and breaking the surf on 2 sides. And it's just unbelievable. I mean, you can just look at the thing. It just She amazes me again and again and again, looking at the thing, the beauties, the colors, the shapes, the forms, the sculptures that it drives the water into, you know. So I said, we got to film this. It's the only chance we're going to have in this movie to be on the beach. Okay. You know. So we did what in the Ramayana, what are the two times the beach comes into the story? What are the two times that the beach got?
Rama going to Lanka Maharaj?
Two times.
Rameshwaram?
That's one. What's the other time the ocean comes into the story? Come on, this is obvious.
From Lanka to here, Maharaj?
Huh?
Hanuman trying to cross the ocean.
Yes. Maybe the same place. So there we were, and then we started a lot talking and everything else, and I was telling the story to them because they don't know it. Sampati and Jatayu. And I'm telling a big eagle, and they were saying, "Oh, like the condor. Condors are like they're as tall as you are. If you Tandavika, if you were standing looking at a condor, he would be looking you right in the eye. That's how big they are. Ever seen a bird that big? Yeah. And when they put their wings out, they fill your entire living room. Yeah. So, that's what they're like. Yeah. And I asked, can you get condor suits here? They said, yeah, you can rent them. Wow. Okay. So we rented a condor suit. We stuffed our surfer, you know, Panchatava into it. And he was joking, everything else. Then we made a black turban. The cloth here, we took Palika's cloth out and made a belt and everything else. And it looks so good, like, you know, sharp nose. And then the directors, they got together, they found a cave, they found the rocks. And I did a monologue sitting on there I'm looking very pensive. They had me walking along the beach and arriving there and sitting there. It's so beautiful. And yeah, it inspires you. So I was saying in the monologue, this is like, you know, it reminds us, that's what this world is created, to remind us of Krishna's pastime. It's so easy there. And I told the story, and then in the background, when I come to the point of talking about how the Sampati heard the monkeys, you know, saying they're going to fast, they're going to die, that he became alert. He was sleeping in a mountain cave on top of the mountain, and he jumped down, you know. So they have him in the front of the cave and coming alert. Yeah, of course, the cave's on the ground, but they don't show the sand coming out of the cave. Then they have him, some of the rocks in the front, they have him jumping off maybe 3-4 times. He had to go into a roll like Jackie Chan, keep from hurting himself. It was amazing. He was so enthusiastic, athletic. So we did that a couple of times, and we did another rock. And then when you edit it, you put it together, you show the top of the mountain, which is scary, you know, 6 stories up, beautiful. And then you can see, oh yeah, an eagle could jump from there to there, and you cut those in. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but when I'm doing my monologue and looking at the camera, looking at the ocean, you know, that'll cut in for part of it and stuff. So it's a little idea. That's what's happening with us. And if we live through all this, and I don't get arrested by migration for staying overtime, then we'll fly back on the 7th to Houston. And hopefully by then we'll have a nice recording schedule set up. And the 19th, we'll get back to Murfreesboro. And I told them, I'm thinking about it, I'm not home until we get to Murfreesboro. Oh, we'll be back in home on the 7th. I said, no, I won't be back at home until the 19th. Until I walk up and unlock the door to 902 Hillcrest and see whether Todd actually fixed anything, and the mother, you know, whether Mataji, you know, bought 25 tons of watermelon for us. House. If all the ladies didn't consult each other, and there's eight watermelons in the house, whatever. I think I forgot to pay the water bill. Doesn't matter. So yeah, then I can give Abai back his suitcase, you know, like that. So that's kind of our situation, our Baba, our consciousness, our attachment, and everybody. That's the whole point. Just go on with whatever we're doing, you know. And I guess almost all of us can think, yeah, I've fallen down from what I am sometimes, and as much as we can, you know, being enthusiastic, and not becoming complacent in our mixed devotional service. And then we'll become qualified to become pure devotees, helping Krishna all the time. So any final comments? Is there anything here? Yeah. We'll have one more. No, we'll have one more. We'll see, this is our last presentation from South America, isn't it? Yeah. And then when we get back to the US, we can, we'll be in the same time zone. Yeah, they're in Houston. Yeah. Wow. I have Abhishek's beard is really luxuriant. Now you really look like some lawyer I would want to hire to sue somebody. Looks like this guy knows how to get money for me for my whiplash. Okay, well, thank you very much. We have Abhishek Singh and Tagore Sundar, Mahatma Singh, Tandavika, Nirja Singh, Vijay Narayan. Well, Vijay, your suitcase is going to come back better than it was. Karen Desai, Animo, Saroj, Darshana K. Desai, Rupali, Veena Singh's iPad. Okay. Vivek Narayan, the great artist. Wow.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Hi.
Thank you for your association and nice classes, Maharaj. We miss you.
Okay. That's what the wolf told Little Red Riding Hood also. How nice to see you.
So it's nice, Maharaj, that from today's verse, it was very nice that you provided great hope like Bharat Maharaj had, Chitraketu Maharaj had. They all were great devotees. They were pure devotees, fell down with little, not so being attentive. But today you describe a great hope for us. So you inspired us. Let's continue this association, Sangha, and we will get there.
But maybe you can get there faster than they did, because if you don't, you may become a demon, you may become a deer, or you may renounce your wife and marry a prostitute. So maybe we should try. Yeah. Try and do it directly. Yeah. Okay. How many people here are going to take sannyas? Okay, when I come back to Nashville, we'll have a big sannyas ceremony. All the ladies can dress in white and cry. I'm Giridhari Das. Okay. So thank you all very, very much for your association. It's almost 10 o'clock here, so I better take rest before my face falls off.
Dandavat Maharaj. Thank
you
Maharaj.
very much.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna,
We'll see you
Maharaj.
soon.
Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Okay. So we'll move on to the next part of our program, which is a little backwards. We'll do the Kirtan last, but we'll jump in. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine.
Namaste Saraswati Devim Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pastachadeshatarine.
Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Sunyavadi Asatyadeshatarine
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda